Hey everybody, Todd and Daniela here, coming to you from Santiago, Chile, and today we have the longest update ever. No, seriously, this video is ridiculously long, so I'm just gonna give it to you short and sweet, snippet by snippet, one video at a time. This first segment is about the social unrest in Chile, how our church was doing before Corona, things Danny does, and a typical day in Chile. Here we go, faster than Lightning McQueen. Since you all have now been experiencing the kind of social unrest that we have in Chile, you can probably appreciate the clip behind me a little more. You can see behind me I'm at a bank and they're banging on the doors, throwing rocks and running through the streets. Thankfully, by the time I got outside, most of it had stopped. And the protests in general have stopped since the arrival of COVID-19, or COVID-19. So next September, we vote to see if we create a complete new constitution or not. Before Corona, we were growing, we were establishing routine, there was accountability for people not to come late, and we were forming bonds with newcomers. Daniela does a lot of different things. Obviously, she's still working towards her long-term ministry goal, which is a Christian cafe. And she does that by selling baked goods, cakes, breads, all kinds of stuff. You can see here she's talking to our neighbor, who also goes to church with us. They're talking about the protests that were happening at the time, the unstable economy, and how our neighbor was going to have to go back to selling on the street because they closed down her business, her store, because of the protests. Daniela also helps her with a lot of her questions about God and the Bible, and you can see here that sometimes they talk for a few hours at a time. Danny is also still singing in our online church services and leads the congregation in prayer on Sundays as well. Abby, Mike Boyce's wife, and Daniela have a personal Bible study as well. They're studying the book of Romans. Daniela has a strong Christian upbringing and well over 10 years in the Christian church. That's why she was also asked to do a communion meditation one Sunday. There were no men capable of doing it that had a formation. I prefer that it doesn't happen, but I don't feel bad for my wife's mature faith blessing the congregation either. Having said that, I'm not sharing this with you to make any theological point. I'm just sharing it to show you how my wife Daniela is blessing the members of our church and society. We have been in complete quarantine in Santiago for over a month, and the economy is really bad. It got bad when the protests started last Chilean spring, which would be September through December. But now with the quarantine, because of the COVID-19, the economy has gotten really bad. So Daniela and I have also helped prepare food for a soup kitchen nearby as well. So the thing with ministry on the mission field is that it's dynamic, it fluctuates, and you have to be flexible to work with it. Even though you might have your day planned and a lot of things to do, anything can just pop up and you have to help somebody. So, for instance, one day I went with Mike to drop off some food to a widow from the church that we attended when I first got to Chile. And we got there and she had fallen and hit her head. We had to take her to the clinic, so we wheeled her down there. And they told us that they wouldn't help her, so she had to go to another clinic farther away, and Mike was the only one with a car, so obviously we're taking her. But she had to eat lunch first, because you never know how long you're going to have to wait in those clinics. So while we're there, Mike took his daughter home because they weren't planning on being out that long, so I stayed with Carmen. Meanwhile, they told her that the protocol says that she has to go to another clinic. But we got an Uber and we went home because the risk of her getting COVID at her age was worse than her going to the clinic. So, to be transparent, this widow is also Daniela's grandmother, but I still would have done it, whoever it was, for the church. So anyway, I could have left then once we got home to her house, but it's so hard for me to get to that part of town that I decided to take advantage of the opportunity. I'm already there. It takes you like an hour and 15 to hour and 20 minutes to get there. So I spent time with her for a few hours, even though I had stuff to do because she doesn't get a lot of visitors. So another example would be Marlene. She's our neighbor, and she's a single mother, and she doesn't have really anybody. And she has a little shop in a gallery, but they closed the gallery because of the quarantine in Santiago because of COVID. So she had to get all the stuff out of her shop so that she could have it to sell out of her house and on the street. So she doesn't really have anybody. I went and helped her do that, even though I have stuff to do, and it took hours to help her. But you gotta do it. You gotta help. So those are examples of how you can have a day planned, but as a missionary, you never know how your day is gonna go. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hasta el próximo.